wrap up the year and the decade, and we will be talking sport, we'll be talking politics, and sharing a few personal stories also.
Are we?
Well, if you want.
Okay.
But welcome to the UK, Barber.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be back here?
It's always good. It's always nice to come back.
Okay.
I like the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barber is living in Sweden at the moment, home of Greta Thunberg,
Yes.
the person of the year.
Yeah.
But apparently they've never heard of her.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously she is well known over there, but I think the rest of the world is giving her a lot of attention. Because, Sweden in itself is pretty environmentally friendly oriented country. They've got quite good recycling procedures there. Streets are clean. People are...
Is it noticeably different?
It is. I mean, I'll give you an example. It's like as soon as I got off the plane in the airport, went to the car park, and everyone's using the paper system for the ticket still. So I found that a bit odd that UK's still using
You're
that.
used to going paperless.
Yeah. I mean, in Sweden, for example, they don't even use cash. Everyone uses the card. I know in the UK, people are quite particular when it comes to their information. They want to stay private. They want to have some privacy, so they like to use cash. But in Sweden, people seem to be all right about it.
Cash is king, Bob.
Cash is king. But in Sweden, everything's card, plastic. But people seem to be all right about that.
And the Ottoman is saying, what's the topic? We're summing up the year, Ottoman. Barber's just visiting from Sweden, and he's saying that they're much better at recycling. And then just better in general.
No, I want to say in general, no. There's a lot. There's a lot of things that are positives and negatives and everything, but better when it comes to environmentally friendly and recycling. Yes.
Oh, we've got a comment. Can you just read that out? That's from Imran Qureshi.
Hello, bro.
He's saying, hi, bro. Thank you, Imran. Imran, feel free to give us a call. The number should be on the screen there. We're also waiting to possibly hear from Andre McIntyre. If you're watching, Andre, hit dial. We're ready for you. So I remember when I was young in school, we had a guy from Canada who was well ahead when it came to recycling. Our school was doing nothing for the whole recycling thing, and he came up with a new system and installed these recycling bins, and everyone was sort of patting him on the back. And I think Canada were ahead of the UK when it comes to recycling. Certain countries, the more advanced ones.
But do you think it's a bit strange though, Julian? Like the UK is quite behind when it comes to the attitudes towards recycling. Why is that?
But I think the further north you go, the more equipped people are.
Really?
Yeah, because people from cold countries had to think more years ago. That's why they're more advanced now. Canada, Scandinavia.
Well, I'll give you an example. In Sweden, the winters, they're always prepared. Nothing stops. Everything runs as normal. And it's quite, it took a while for me to get used to, actually. But as soon as the snow comes, school is on, work is on, trains are running, buses are running.
Because they're ready for it.
They're ready for it. They're prepared.
And they're ready for anything. Takia, what you're saying, don't take Greta Thunberg as a representation of us Swedes. She is a Marxist lefty.
She's probably right there.
Well, I believe...
But, does she really know?
Does she know what she's saying?
No.
Is she a puppet?
No, what I'm saying is that she's still very young. She's very passionate about climate and the environment. So, I think it's a bit...
Do your impression. He does a great impression of Greta Thunberg. Go on, do it. It's really funny. He doesn't want to do it now, but it's spot on.
She's an angry young lady, isn't she?
He doesn't really. I'm joking. Don't let Greta Thunberg be a representation of how we think. She's a kid used by the media. She's a victim of her managers.
That's what I was getting at.
Just like Mike Tyson was.
I agree. She's young. She's passionate. I think she means well, but I think it's unfair to really start putting her in political categories. Yes, she's being used because she's young.
Is she the Swedish Malala Yousafzai?
Pretty similar.
What are the similarities? We don't hear much about Malalia anymore. Where's she gone?
Where's she gone? I don't know. I mean,
She was an up-and-coming,
she was quite
strong
patriotic
woman.
about Pakistan, but I think that's stopped now. And since she's probably, is she British or what does she have? What citizenship does she have now?
She's probably a world citizen.
World citizen. She can go anywhere.
Okay, she can. And Greta Thunberg was the person of the year, not man, not woman, person of the year. Someone who died this year, and this is going to be pretty British-centric, was the great, is it naturalist or naturist, David Bellamy? I can never remember which. But he's the one that studies nature. Mm-hmm. Do you remember David Bellamy?
I think so.
He was like the thinking man's David Attenborough, but he disappeared from our screens about 10 years ago because he dared to challenge the mainstream narrative on man-made climate change.
Okay. So what is the narrative then?
So the mainstream narrative is that there's 98% consensus among scientists that carbon emissions from your car, from factories, etc., although the beef industry is actually the main culprit when it comes to human-caused carbon emissions, but all of that is causing or accentuating the climate, accelerating the climate change. We used to call it global warming. Mm-hmm. We now call it climate change because sometimes it gets colder, sometimes it gets...
But is climate change a big hoax? I mean, is there such a thing?
Well, I'm saying this gentleman who was a scientist, he must be one of the 2%. He completely rejected the notion of man-made climate change, as does Piers Corbyn, the brother of the greatest prime minister we never had, Jeremy Corbyn. So it's not 100% consensus, but anyone that steps away from that mainstream narrative will be quickly rejected. And even if they're wrong, what is wrong with having them on a platform and exposing them if you've got facts?
I was listening to a particular argument the other day, and this gentleman who's entrepreneur and extremely wealthy or whatever, he completely rejects climate change. And I'm sure that the elite, they have their scientists as well that actually speak on their behalf, because when you are a big corporation, you're going to want not to be seen totally as the villain. You know what I mean? So I'm sure they're going to have certain scientists speaking on their behalf and their arguments too. So this particular gentleman, he said that they've done tests in a certain area, etc., and this particular area showed that it was even warmer on Earth so many years ago than it is now. And there was no such thing as plastic back then, or like you said, man-made materials. So he said it's a complete hoax. But
maybe the cavemen had cars and we don't know.
We don't know. But the thing is that the point that we should miss is that what is actually causing the temperatures to rise now? I mean, is it naturally caused or is it man-made caused? Man-made.
Well, this is the question. I am not an expert, and I'm very worried about just dismissing other opinions. I know the truth is I don't know, but I'm willing to listen to people who have an opinion that diverges from the mainstream. And David Bellamy was one of those, and you just didn't hear from him for the last 10 years.
I first came across the notion of global warming and climate change and all that back in primary school when I was just like 9 years old, long time ago. And I learned
before they had cars.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like we learned about plastic and the dangers of plastic back then. And here, I mean, it was like 30 years on, 30 years on, and it's just got worse. And it was bad back then.
But this is the thing. I think the dangers of plastic are indisputable, and that gets lumped together with the man-made climate change and carbon emission. Pollution is certainly a problem. I don't think there's any dispute on that. There's debate about the man-made effect or the effects of carbon emissions, but you've got to look at who's peddling this information, who gains. Some people say that actually all the major oil companies are actually funding the other side of the argument, and they don't want people to believe that that they are causing man-made climate change. Ahmed is saying hi, Julian. Hello, Ahmed. He was the commenter of the week a few months back.
Okay, how many comments?
Several. Couldn't count it on one finger. We're still waiting to hear from Andre. Should we try Andre? Should we give him a try? We're going to try and get through to Andre McIntyre, who said he would love to speak to us and wish us a happy new year. He's who is Andre McIntyre? We had him on it. How would you sum him up?
He is here he is.
Andre, is it a good moment? Hello, Andre. Are you watching? Oh, sorry to disturb you. We wanted to know your hopes or your predictions for 2020, because you are another mystic Mac.
Mystic Mac, yeah, all right.
I think we caught him at a bad time. Go on, give us a prediction for 2020, and then we'll let you get on with killing a rabbit or whatever you're doing.
Give us a prediction for 2020 and your hopes for the new decade.
Yeah,
ahead.
Oh, there's so much going on, mate. I think for next year it's nothing certain, is it? At the moment, was Brexit a good thing? Was Brexit a bad thing? We don't know. To be honest, it's quite open. It's a hard one. It depends on what section you're talking about. If you're talking about sports, we can talk about that. If you're talking about the climate, or you're talking about how Brexit's going to affect us and what's going to happen, I think it's all open at the moment. It is.
Home or away?
It's uncertainty in all angles.
We're living in uncertain times. Let's go sport for a minute. Will there be an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world by this time next year? And what country will they be from? No? There won't be. Okay, where will the belts be then?
The belts will be divided as they are at the moment, with one person holding most, and the WBC still being separate.
He's not saying around whose waist? The Gypsy King or the Big Dosser?
My prediction for the fight is pain.
Spot on, Andre. Look, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show. And if you feel like saying anything, you can send us a voice clip, yeah? And we'll play it, no matter what it is.
No problem.
Nice one. Take care.
Have a good one.
Good man.
Baba, you are looking... Looks like the Nordic weather is really treating you well. You're looking fit as per usual.
Thanks, bro.
I see you with some skin on the TV. What's going on there?
I don't know, man. Just have to look after ourselves. That's it. What else can I say?
That's it.
You're doing a very, very good job, my friend. Very good job. Good to see you.
Good to see you, bro. Good to hear from you.
Good man. Yeah. Thank you, Andre. Enjoy the show.
No problem.
Nice one.
Enjoy the show. Happy New Year to the two of you.
Thank you very much. It's good to catch up with Andre. I actually met Andre through Barber when he was a guest on the radio show in the heyday, in the glory days of live media, and we've stayed in touch, which has been great. Actually, it's great to meet.
Andre is that guy. You know, if he likes you, you can be his friend for life.
There you go. Yeah.
If you don't,
God help you.
Yeah, God help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and someone said in the comments there, it's better to make a wish than a prediction. So, have you got any wishes on a star?
Wishing can point towards magic, and I don't like magic.
Ahmed is saying, I wish the Queen of the UK returns the power in the hand and resolve the fake, stupid Parliament of UK. And we've got a private number. Mystery caller, Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year as well to you.
And I think I know who this is. Is that Mac?
It is.
Welcome, Mac. Mac is a great contributor to these live streams. Mac, you're through to myself and Barbara, a great friend and colleague. What have you got for us as we wrap up the decade?
Nothing. I see you lot talking about the global warming, or as they say, climate change. That's more accurate than.
Yeah. Well, you can't call it global warming if we live on a flat Earth, for a start.
No, but the thing is, I was going to say it's not entirely. It's the thing of the sun as well, because I don't know if you are aware, but apparently it's getting further, like year by year, like and even they're saying it's not positioned in a fixed place, and year by year as it goes further away. This is where we're at the moment. We're in the Goldilocks zone. Do you lot know about the Goldilocks? When things are just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, a Goldilocks, the concept is something that's not too hot, not too cold, right? Like the porridge with the three bears.
Yeah.
And we are in the Goldilocks zone in that the Earth can sustain life.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why other planets really doesn't. So, whether it's flat Earth or not, I mean, that's not even the subject.
That's always a distraction. We won't go there. Sorry to bring it up, even.
But the climate change issue is becoming an issue because I believe it's not only just humans, but my personal belief that they are putting chemicals in. I mean, aluminum or however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And
potato.
other things in the atmosphere. Now, the reason why they do that, aluminum or aluminium, whatever, is basically the particles, the ions, when they do the sphere, it doesn't allow basically the clouds to form. So it's not really allowing nature to take its normal course.
Keeping up, Baba.
I mean, look into it. This is another thing that I'm telling you.
Aluminium. Is this? Are we talking chemtrails?
Aluminium. I mean, I don't know how the Americans pronounce it, English pronounce it, because there's a bit of a difference.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Well, let's say because I do a bit of chemistry. Al.
Yeah.
Whichever. It's basically aluminium or aluminum, but basically. They're putting the particles of it in the ionosphere, and basically the clouds, instead of, because it's all electrical, that's how lightning occurs, and so the particles are coming.
When you say they're putting this in the atmosphere, do you mean people flying planes are doing it?
Yeah. I mean, the formation of the clouds are not natural. Look at it. I mean, compare the formation. Sometimes finding formations.
But the thing is, Mac, whoever is doing this, presumably they breathe the same air as us. So why would they pollute their own air?
Well, it's not polluting it as such. I mean, it's weather tampering. I mean, NASA can create actual steam rain and all that nonsense. Yeah, they're trying to. What it is, it goes biblically because Solomon was granted.
Solomon. Whoa. You've just shot back in time 4,000 years, but go on, Solomon, we're with you.
It's all relative because Solomon was the only person in history not only have the bird, but because in the Quran we believe he not only talked to the birds and he had control over wind.
Hudhud, he spoke to the hudhud bird. Okay.
So therefore, what he had granted God and God had given him was an army allegiance of a land, a whole, a kind of where no other empire would ever receive, and that would include having been able to tamper with the actual, you can say, weathering system or global system. And Solomon could do that. That's how he could flow, they say, with the wind, because the wind. But he would actually, basically, they'll sit on a boat, and he would ask the wind to blow an air. It would go as fast as 200 miles per hour. God knows whatever.
Fast as that?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. So essentially what we're trying to achieve is the same system and control weather. At the end of the day, that is the best, the person to be able to control not only population, not only whatever, as long as even the, as I say, that you can use weathering system to your advantage. You see what I mean?
Right. So this is the thing. Look, I'm a fellow tinfoil hat wearer. Okay, I believe in all the conspiracies, but the people that believe all of them, even the ones that contradict each other, the people that say that
HARP.
HARP. Yeah, I know. But Andre McIntyre is saying this guy sounds weird, as if he's lost the plot. However, he's actually correct regarding Solomon. Don't worry, look, Andre just tells it like it is. I just read it out. Mac is a very well-read individual, clearly done a lot of research and spent a lot of time on these areas that other people dismiss. There is a tendency for the people that question man-made climate change, as I said, I'm open to questioning it, also believe that man is controlling the weather, but he's doing it secretly and deliberately.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Why would man not want to achieve that? Because if you can use that against your enemies, for example, if you can control the weathering and make it rain or make it then
localize.
Difficult. You see what I mean? You can weaponize it exactly. So it could be used either way. So,
do you think it has been used as a weapon yet? Which war have they used weather as a weapon?
I'm sure. I can't say, because you know what it is. The technology that we have was this is like from 50 years ago, but we only receive it now. So the military is always 40 to 50 years advanced in technology. We don't know what they're working with. If they're right now, if you go, I'm sure you saw it. The guy from Top Gear, what was his name?
Jeremy Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson did the thing on NASA where he actually goes and he shows you they make steam and it rains miles further, like a mile further down. So NASA created that. So they've created a system where they can actually create rain, like literally within half an hour it'll start raining in a certain area. They can position. That's just one aspect of it. The other aspect, the tornado, it's easy. Even the tsunami, people don't seem to understand. They have these apparatus where they can actually send the vibrations down to look for oil, and it bounces back. And also when they realize they can use this sort of application underwater, create these vibrations and then these waves.
And is the advantage of this, you can attack your enemy and then say, don't blame me, the weather did it?
Yeah. Basically, it's all advanced technology. Even with creating catastrophes. It's all the population. It's controlling the masses. It's, at the end of the day, it's depopulating. Like, it all comes down to the same thing, isn't it? Okay. At the end of the day, the more population there is, the harder it is to control.
Absolutely. Look, Mac, other people are trying to get in through, so I'm going to thank you for your call and all your contributions in 2019.
I actually wanted to ask you quite a lot, because like, what was like, it seemed like deserted, and it was, I wanted to know more.
You know what? In the last 15 minutes, I'll talk about Syria, and if you want to give me a call back then, you're welcome to, or if you want to watch from the comfort of your chair, that's fine. But I will talk about Syria in the last section of this show.
I was very intrigued of your trip.
Yeah, I've got to tell Barbara about that as well. You know, I was in Syria. Yeah. We will talk about that. Nice one.
It was nice meeting you. Nice one. Take care.
Superb. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you. And if you are trying to get through, I know Ahmed Al-Sachli is trying to call from Jordan. You need to replace the 0 with 0044. Then it's plus 777. Yeah, so plus 44, 77, etc. And the Truth AK Overkill is shouting my name and saying, hey, you guys, which country is this number? We are operating out of the UK, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Scotland for now. So, yes, weather. It has been the year of weather and climate change.
What do you think of weather? I mean, when in Europe, no one can stop talking about the weather.
Yeah.
Because it's so unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to speak about, what's that group called? Extinction Rebellion.
Well, Extinction Rebellion.
I want to talk about them actually, because I was watching a little bit on them the other day. I don't know. They might have a point, Julian.
What point have they got, Barbara? They might have a point that we're about to go extinct. Okay.
Yeah,
you're from Sweden now.
they believe that there's only like 2 generations left of this earth. I mean, if it continues to going the way it's going.
Do your impression. Do you? How dare you? He does it better than me. You've stolen my childhood. He does a great Greta Thunberg.
Yeah. Okay.
And a good, yeah.
So they believe that there's like 2 generations left.
Haven't we heard all this before in the previous generation?
No,
Weren't they telling us, wasn't Al Gore telling us 20 years ago that we had 10 years to live?
I mean, I think where that comes from is that man actually does believe in the apocalypse or doomsday. They do actually believe that this world isn't going to go on forever. So man will continue.
Every generation thought they were the last one.
Not every, I don't think. You think so?
Well, look, even Jesus said the world was going to end soon.
I think as people, we have to believe that we are the last, because that's how we get the best out of ourselves.
Okay.
You know, we can't say that, this world's going to go on for another 1,000 years.
Isn't the reality that we are going to be extinct, as in our life is temporary, and we can't bear to imagine the world going on without us? It's like going home from a party early and everyone's going to carry on raving till 6 a.m. You don't like the thought of it. You want the party to end when you go home. But the party is going to carry on.
But the thing
Extinction Rebellion, long after I'm dead and long after you're dead.
But the thing is, it's like, do you really want to live for 1,000 years? I mean, would you really want to live for 1,000 years?
I'm starting to know what that would feel
Would you?
like. No, well, would I? I don't. It's a good question.
Because that's the thing, is that people are so attached to life. I mean, would you want to live for 1,000 years? What would you do?
If I had to,
That you cannot do in a span of 30 years or 40 years.
What can you do with 100 million that you can't do with 10?
Exactly.
Or whatever Arnie said.
Exactly. And that's going towards another point. Do rich people only care about rich people?
Do rich people only care about money?
Of course. But it's like you just said. What can you do with 100 million that you can't do with 25 million? So how much money do you need?
Well, I've, in the course of my vast experiences, I've rubbed shoulders with a few of the elite and the 1%, or maybe the 2%.
Okay.
And some people that are that wealthy will spend 3/4 of the year out of the country for tax reasons. Because if you spend more than 3 months, they're non-domicile, I believe the term is.
I mean, they have. Sorry to cut you, but a lot of these extremely wealthy people, they live quite. How can you say? Lonely lives. Because, like you said, they're continuously out of the country. They're hanging out in places like Monaco and just spending wealth and
losers.
Got nothing. And how much of that life can you continue living?
But my question is, how rich do you have to be to not care about getting taxed further? If you were that rich, surely you would just go wherever you want. And if you want to tax me, so what?
But this is the thing, Julian. They don't want to pay taxes. Why? Because they love money.
Yeah, and I guess, as Bill Gates said on The Simpsons, I didn't get rich writing checks. And this is the thing, I think every now and then you see an idiot that wins the lottery and they're broke again within 6 years.
Did you hear about the guy recently?
What happened?
I think it was in the UK. It must have been in the UK. A guy who he just won the lottery and he's literally died a few months later.
Oh, I hope he had a good time before he passed away. We can't take it with you.
I think he left behind 150 million or something.
Oh, wow. There's a guy like that in Nigeria who's trying to leave it to me. I must get back to him with emails. Yes, the rich. You don't stay rich unless you have a certain mindset, I think.
I don't know. I think people like us, we have a different type of thinking. I mean, the way I see it is like, if you've got a certain amount of money, you should go out and look out for others. I mean, but it's more easier said than done, I suppose. And rich people, they don't like to give money. You know?
But money itself, I mean, you talked earlier on about going paperless in terms of the environment. We're going paperless.
I don't think that's done for the environment, Julian. I think that's done more for keeping a track on people.
You reckon?
Yeah.
No more pay me cash.
Because if you look at it, assets are what really bring value to you, or is valuable. An asset, isn't it?
Yeah. Why do we call it liquid assets?
Because it goes down the drain.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Why does the river have a bank?
Oh, why does it?
I don't know, but it seems that money has a lot to do with water. The river has a bank. You have your liquid assets, and even salt water, a saline.
Come on, man. Can this be translated?
I think it can.
You think so?
I think I'm onto something.
I think so. I believe assets is what determines a person's wealth, and the more you have people chasing after paper,
Frozen assets.
assets.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, assets, something that you can hold, something that has something, not paper or, like you said, figures on a computer screen or plastic. But it's not valuable.
Money itself, sitting there doing nothing, loses value. I was in Iran and I had millions and millions of Iranian rials, and it was worth nothing. T. McIntyre saying, are we still on the topic of self-destruction? We can be.
Self-destruction.
Well, money has destroyed many people. The pursuit of money. Some people say it's the root.
Let's say, for example, you take for instance, you'll take a wealthy country that has a lot of assets like oil, for example.
Okay.
And other countries are buying oil from this country, taking their assets,
liquid gold, oil,
real assets like
gold.
oil,
Right, yeah.
And all they're giving to them in return is a few numbers on a screen.
Right. Is this
country
Libya by any chance?
It could be Libya.
It could be Libya. It could be Iraq.
Yeah, it could be Saudi Arabia. It could be, But if you think about it, you are giving assets to other nations, but in return you're getting numbers on a screen. Think about it.
Yes. A friend of mine from Tunisia said that the reason why Tunisia throughout its history was generally peaceful was because it didn't have any assets or resources that people wanted to come and steal.
The rich had nice beaches.
Yeah, the richest countries in Africa, for example, Sierra Leone, rich in terms of resources,
Congo.
Rich in diamonds, possibly Congo as well. People came to steal these resources from the people, and people wound up warring over it, and the country gets set on fire and is in turmoil. So if you are a country, Afghanistan, a strategic area, the Silk Road went through there. Silk, obviously, a very valuable.
Also a perfect place to have military bases as well.
Yes. A perfect place to have military bases. Where else is a good place to have a military base? And the only country in the Middle East that doesn't have an American military base is Syria, which I recently returned from. And we will talk about that in the last section. And if Mac wants to get back in, he's welcome to. Are we going for an hour today?
We'll go for as long as
we'll go till we drop. We'll shop till we drop. But it's always interesting when you land in a new country trying to calculate how much is this currency worth, and hopefully it's a nice round number. I mean, $1 used to be worth about.
Well, in Sweden, it's like when I was comparing the Swedish currency to the pound.
What is the Swedish currency?
It's the krona.
The krona.
Yeah.
Krona. Okay.
And it's always an extra zero. So if you have £1, you'll get 10 crown. Basically.
Oh, that's nice and easy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still a zero. Adding a zero onto it, it's like
can be challenging.
It's like it's a bit behind, isn't it?
That's what the French franc used to be. I think when my youth we used to go camping in France.
So you get 100.
Yeah, 10 francs was about
£100 would be 1,000 crown. It's like It's not the same, is it, really? 1,000 to 100, it's like...
Not really the same, is it? Different numbers.
Exactly.
And in Ireland, they used to have the Irish pound, or the punt. And when we would go there as a child, I think the Irish pound was worth slightly more than a UK pound, but some places would accept the UK pound. It would go up and down. Sometimes the UK pound was worth more than the Irish punt, but Ireland joined the euro, joined the single currency. And is possibly a united Ireland on the horizon. Should we go through the comments? Some people are giving us good wishes. I want to say hi to Jordan M, who shouted me out in the comments a while back. Great to have
Shall
him
we talk a
watching
little
as
bit
well.
about social awkwardness?
If you like to. It's the end of the decade, Bob. If we don't talk about it now, we never will.
Social awkwardness and men being feminized. Shall we talk about that a little bit?
All right. Let's talk about it now.
Let's talk about it. Social awkwardness. What is that to you? What is social awkwardness to you?
Who's the most socially awkward person you've ever met? We
just say names.
Obviously, don't mention family members, but someone else.
I don't know.
That's awkward silence. Social awkwardness. Why'd you bring it up?
No, because, it's like there's so much things going on in the world,
And why does that relate to masculinity?
Because are men being feminized?
Okay, but is that don't say he's saying that? Team McIntyre is saying don't say me. It's not you, Andre. You're not socially awkward. You could fit in anywhere.
Social awkwardness, to me, is like people who just cannot conduct themselves with other people. They are constantly, maybe they could be loners. They could be people who are very poor in creating relationships.
Are these the
friendships.
sort of people that used to text the show instead of phoning in?
Could be. Maybe they were shy. Like I said, that's social awkwardness.
We used to have a great little double act together, and I would give out the phone number and say, give us a call. And I'd be begging people for phone calls. And Barbara would always mention, but if you're shy,
yeah.
you can text in. And is that why people have become shy? Because we are all hiding behind a screen now.
Yeah.
We can say whatever we want, but we don't have to face
There's a lot of
anybody.
factors, and I think people find a lot of comfort locked away in their rooms and being behind their screens and basically trying to communicate through a screen.
Behind the cloak of anonymity.
Exactly. And when they go out in the real world, they really struggle.
Yes.
They really struggle. They struggle, like they're creating relationships, keeping friendships.
Yeah.
They say that majority of millennials, they don't have any real friends because they are constantly behind a screen.
Team McIntyre saying we are socially weak.
Socially weak. Weakness in what sense? Weak.
You lack discipline.
Yes. That all comes with it as well, isn't it? That all comes with it. But social awkwardness is like, well, we spoke about it last year, didn't we? Instant gratification.
Yeah. I thought you'd bring this up. Here we go. Yeah.
We talked about it last year.
We did, yeah. It's all we talked about.
Well, it wasn't all we talked about.
We did a whole hour.
We want everything now.
Yes, we want it now.
We want it now. We want everything now. And young men, for example, who are addicted to pornography, who you could say they masturbate.
Yes, you could say that.
3 to 5 times a day.
It's out there. It is out there.
It's out there. It's out there.
I'm just putting it out there.
It's out there. And these individuals, how can they form any sort of relationship with anybody?
Online, probably. The Truth, aka Overkill, saying bisphenol alters testosterone and estrogen. Is bisphenol a ingredient that we find commonly in foods? I know you're into your superfoods. And
they say soya increases estrogen in men.
Does it?
And yes, and we've got the vegan society. Obviously, they promote soya, and soya in
as
itself,
an alternative to milk.
Yes,
Yeah.
and look what it's doing to men. Apparently,
look what we've become. Look what we've done.
What do you think about the whole vegan thing? Remember a couple of years ago we sat with
we had some vegans on the show.
Hardcore vegans. And what do you think about the whole vegan thing now? Do you think that it's an alternative lifestyle, or do you think that it is the way?
I think everything comes in swings, all right? The pendulum swings one way and swings the other way. Someone's saying the soy conspiracy is a myth. They obviously have invested heavily in soy products, maybe.
Well, a good way to test that, is on yourself. Drink soya. Say, okay, I don't want to drink cow's milk. I don't want to punish the cows anymore.
Yeah.
So drink soya. before you drink soya, get your testosterone checked. Then go on a 6 week or 2 month or whatever period where you're just drinking soya, and then go get checked again and see what happens.
Try it yourself.
Try out.
And you've done this.
I mean, me personally, I don't. I told you before, I believe in the middle route.
Okay.
So
The wasset.
huh?
On being on the wasset.
I don't drink milk anyway.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
What do you do with it?
I don't drink.
Bathe in it?
I don't drink milk.
Oh.
I don't even go near milk. I mean,
Really?
the only time I use milk is for my tea, and that's it.
Okay. Milk in the tea. What, like a chai
I
latte?
recently really cut down on sugar. I mean, I don't have sugar. Like, and it's really helped me. So my energy levels are really stable.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I don't get that spike and
You
drop.
you don't crave it?
I get cravings, but in terms of my energy levels throughout the day, it's really balanced. I don't feel like a spike or horrible crash. I don't get that.
So, I mean, there's sugar in so many things. What about fruits? I mean, that's sugar as well.
Fruit is good for you.
Fructose, yeah, I know, but it's still sugar.
Yeah, but it's good for you because
More sugar in a lemon than a strawberry.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's a fact.
the point here is that it's not processed sugar or refined sugar. It's natural sugar that your body can actually register. So it's good for you. It's not like it's going to go into your system and your body's going to think, what am I going to do with this? Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's natural sugar. It's good for you. So
natural is okay.
I believe so. Obviously, in moderation. You're not going to go crazy and start having, I don't know, 12 apples or something or some ridiculous.
An apple a day
Yeah.
stops
Moderation.
you becoming.
But it's
anyway,
like, everyone's different though,
Yeah.
Julian. It all comes down to your activity levels, how active you are during the day. I mean, the people who are more active, they need more. People who are less active should have less.
yes, you see the guidelines for a man is 2,500 calories a day, is it?
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
But a very active man would need more.
More, yeah.
And a less active man would.
It all depends on how much muscle you're carrying as well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all these things. But you really have to, like Andre said,
Yeah.
socially weak, being weak. Not knowing when to say no, and just comfort eating and mouth pleasure and constant mouth pleasure.
Because we've got everything at the touch of a button, we get everything quickly. Ex-Brono is saying the far left like to talk about single mums making their lads feminine, and someone else mentioned that it's the far right that like to mention soy. Why is that? It is an insult thrown around by the far right. They would say soy boy.
Yeah,
they usually.
Yeah. I mean, I know where this person's coming from because
go on.
it's like you'll get someone who's very much into the eating meat. Because they believe that eating beef is manly, makes you strong, and it's the way to be. And then
You can't beat the meat at a family barbecue.
Yeah, and someone who eats vegetables or just eats I don't know, plant-based or whatever, it's like they're seen as a bit more weaker.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit unfair. That is unfair.
Okay.
But vegans do get a bit hardcore.
I mean, Nate Diaz is a vegan, I think.
Supposedly.
Suppose you doubt it.
No, I mean, the thing is, like...
He's hard as nails.
It's like, I believe a vegan diet is unsustainable.
Okay.
I believe there are periods when you can go totally vegan, and I believe if you're a certain type of person, you should go vegan.
Really?
Yeah.
Certain blood type.
Not like a certain type of person. Like if you get someone who has very poor health, etc., like someone who, I don't know, is obese.
Right.
They should go and try vegan diets and stuff like that, But there's also evidence to prove that eating beef and just eating meat, and what do they call that? It's called...
Vegetarian.
Not vegetarian, it's called...
Just eat meat.
Carnivore. Carnivore diet, yeah. Going on a carnivore diet has a lot of health benefits. It gets rid of arthritis, skin conditions.
It gets rid of it.
It gets rid of it.
Really?
Yeah. And it's shown. A gentleman, the guy who's always on YouTube, Dr. Peterson.
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. Yeah,
he's on a carnivore
diet.
He's on a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
well, he's far right then.
He had a lot of health problems. But yeah, it's become that now, isn't it? Like this person saying, it's become like a far right, a far left thing. But should it be? I don't think so.
It's all reactionary. And it's true that in our history we have probably eaten too much meat, and the meat industry is immoral, and the conditions are not right. And if you look at what halal meat should be compared to what it is, and the factories and some of the horrible conditions in which halal food is produced, you would sort of want to turn away from it, but you've gone to the extreme in another direction. I've also heard that a lot of the initial health benefits that people have from turning vegan come from the fact that for once in their life they are consuming enough veg and green, and it's not that they're avoiding the meat, it's that they're getting what they needed, and then the benefits trail off. McIntyre is saying, I see it all the time when teaching martial arts. The dads want the kids to get stuck in. The mothers say we're too rough.
Yeah. I mean, that's when the men have to be men, and that's the thing. The men have to be men.
Can't say that anymore, Barbara.
Can we say that anymore?
You're offending people.
But what's wrong with saying that? Like, men should be men and women should be women.
A young man gave birth the other day, and a very proud mother he is too. Or she, or Z. I don't know what's happening in the world anymore.
Yeah, but that's just madness, isn't it?
Well,
it is. It's madness, Julian.
Yeah, it's that pendulum swing.
Yeah.
We were very masculine for thousands of years. You probably liked it back then. Now we're very feminine. Soon we'll be in the middle. We'll be on the wasat, which is the middle, which is.
But let's put it in a little perspective now.
Buddha said.
Let's put it in a little perspective.
Go on then.
When the world was majority patriarchal, more things got done.
Well, what got done? The Black Death, Christopher Columbus,
construction,
World War One,
wars.
Wars got done. That's not.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like it's inevitable, isn't it?
You know what someone said the other day that they didn't like about Jeremy Corbyn? I can't imagine him in a war.
Why not?
Surely that's a good thing.
No, but I actually think that Mr. Corbyn has fight in him, because I don't believe he's a pacifist.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I believe he's a man who actually fights for the right. I don't believe. Yes, he hates war, but I don't believe he's a pacifist. That was someone who would completely reject it.
You don't think he just got no backbone and just said whatever he thought would get people to like him and agreed with everyone and let his party dictate to him?
And I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I think one of the mistakes that he made during this election campaign was, I think he was too honest.
Too honest?
Yes. I think he was too honest. And the thing is, it's like sometimes the public, well, a lot of the times, the public, they just want to hear what they want to hear. And you got to give it to them. Like the Tories, they went on this whole campaign of getting Brexit done. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. But really, they just said it was just talk.
Well,
and
if Jeremy Corbyn had said the same thing, he would have won the election.
I think he would have a better chance. I think so. Yeah. I think so. But the thing is, I believe that he didn't say that because he knew that he couldn't really deliver on that. So he was like, in a way, he was being too honest. He should have said, okay, I'm going to get you Brexit. And then he would have said, okay, I will tackle it when it comes.
McIntyre's backing you up here.
All war is deception.
Okay.
And I believe that. You cannot be too honest. You cannot be too honest.
Well, McIntyre is saying that he was too honest. He wasn't honest when they asked him about whether he watches the Queen's speech.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, it's normally on in the morning. And she goes, oh, it's on in the afternoon. You don't watch it, do you, Mr. Corbyn? And he did his usual squirming. Every time I see him on TV, he's squirming around and trying to deny that he's an anti-Semite. Just come out and say it.
No.
Say, I support the Palestinian people who are Semitic also. And I am criticising a nation state, but not a race of people. Why didn't he have the backbone to say that?
But Julian, I think people already know that about him. He don't
do that. People think he's an anti-Semite without knowing what the word means. I
think that was just propaganda, and because if you look at the news now, nothing's ever mentioned about anti-Semitism anymore. Now, as soon as this election's been over, it's not even been said anymore.
Well, it's only been a couple of weeks, but it's a fair point.
I think a lot of people know about Mr. Corbyn. They know he's not a highly nationalistic type of guy. He's a man for everyone. He's a man for humanity. He's not very into the monarchy. So there's a lot.
So why does he have to pretend that he watches the Queen's speech? Just say, no, don't watch it because I'm not a royalist.
But I mean,
he's like, yeah, it's normally on. You try to give a middle of the road answer.
No, I don't think so. I think in those situations he did what he had to do. I mean, people know about him. I mean, he's not gonna like pretend to be something he's not.
Well, it seemed that he did.
No, he didn't. No.
Why didn't he say, I don't watch it? I'm not interested in royalty.
Well, he probably did watch it.
I watched The Snowman.
No, but as a Labour leader, I'm pretty sure he did watch it because he needs to be informed. He needs to know what's going on. He cannot just say, I didn't watch it.
Interesting.
You got to know, isn't it, what's going on? You can't say, you can't just deny it because the monarchy is a big thing in British society. So he's going to have to watch it.
It's a very good point. And we need to address the monarchy because it's been a bumpy year, as Mom said, because Prince Andrew was at Pizza Express the night he didn't have sex with a 17-year-old and was close. I mean, if Jimmy Savile was still around, he would be very disappointed in his friend, I'm sure. When are we going to... Team McIntyre saying something interesting in the comments. When are we going to realise that the royals are, I was about to say human, but that might be the wrong word, that they are riddled with scandal. If you thought you could get away with anything, you'd do it. And that's what the royal family have. They think they can get away with anything. And he didn't even apologise. He was like, I don't even sweat. I wasn't there. I was in Pizza Express. The arrogance.
But that is the attitude of the elite, Julian.
Yeah, because they can get away with doing whatever. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't you?
So how do we hold them to account? They seem to... They sort of care what people think.
The whole problem with the monarchy for me is like, it's in a way, it insults people's intelligence. I mean, you've got a woman who makes, I don't know, £100 million a year from taxpayers' money. Is it 100 million she gets paid?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so she gets paid 100 million a year from the
tourist money,
from
bringing all the tourists,
taxpayers, etc. Yeah. And she's sitting there in her palace, and she's telling the people out there to be nice to each other and be good to each other. And look for the poor and look out for the poor. And she says all these things. It's like, get off of it. It's like, what? Why is she saying that? Do you understand? It's like, when was the last time that she gave any of her money to anybody or helped somebody apart from making appearances?
Look, I mean,
don't you think it's a bit, what do you say, condescending, a bit insulting in a way? It's like, you got kids in the UK, in England, in Great Britain, kids who go a day with just one meal, or kids who cannot afford school dinners, or you got situations like that.
Yeah, people are living out of food banks. Yeah, while others are living in
and pretty soon, I believe the health service will become private, and it's just going to get worse. That's what I believe.
Sadly, yes, and
so you got food banks, no healthcare. You're already in a low socio-economic background. It basically, the hole you're in is just going to get bigger. And if you're, a well-to-do person or doing all right, it's not going to affect you, obviously. But if you look at it, the majority of people are working class. The majority of people are struggling.
So why are we not on the streets like they are in France in their yellow vests, the gilets jaunes, or like in the other places around the world?
Because I believe, and you might say I'm pulling out the race card, but I believe there's a lot of racism, ignorant racism in this country.
Right.
And basically they've shot themselves in the foot, but they haven't realised it yet.
So you think the racists are blaming the foreigners rather than the foreigners that live in Buckingham Palace?
Yes, because this whole Brexit thing, I mean, like it or not, the majority of it is about immigration and not letting more people in and stuff like that. So, and then you've got the working class individuals who are voting and want Brexit, but then they don't understand the consequences that could happen. So it's like they shot themselves in the foot, in a way.
What are the consequences? Losing the NHS?
Yes, because if you think about it, Britain is probably the most unhealthy, or if not one of the most unhealthy countries in the whole of Europe.
Is it really?
Yes, it is, yeah. Heart disease, illnesses, etc., is very, very high in this country.
Why do you think that is?
Poor health, poor standard of living.
Okay. Diet, lifestyle.
diet, alcohol abuse, drugs, mental health issues. It's very, very high in this country. It's extremely high. And I think that the government, they brush that under the table and they're just doing everything for business. You know, they don't care. Because poor people generally have shorter lives. They generally have shorter lives and they usually have poor health as well.
Yes, very sadly, and tend to smoke more, drink more,
stress more.
Yeah, they look for escapism in these shortcuts to happiness.
Exactly.
When really you should be investing time in sport and good nutrition.
Yeah, but if you're always constantly worried about the bills at the end of the month, you're not going to regard your health because you need to get things done. You know.
So, I mean, I want to go into your line of work, if you don't mind, as a personal trainer.
Yes.
Where do you start from scratch if someone comes to you in bad shape? And it's the usual mentality. Often I've tried to invite people to come and train MMA or do some boxing or whatever, and they say to you, I'll come to the gym when I'm in shape. It's never going to happen. How do you get the ball rolling? Do you literally start with walking? What?
Yeah, I mean, first, I think a lot of it is psychological.
Okay.
You have to really, as a coach or as a trainer, you have to really tap into this person's mindset and sort of like sense off of this individual what the barriers are.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just confidence, and they want someone that's going to say, you know what, I'm with you, I'm there for you.
I mean, coming up must be your busiest time of year, right? January.
Yeah, it will be.
New year, new me.
Yeah, definitely, it will be. And what I tell people that I train or coach, I tell them that just show up.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing. And you might be having a bad day, things can't be, ain't going right for you, or you had some bad food, or you drank too much, or whatever it could be. Just show up. Show up, keep showing up, keep doing what you can do, and things get better.
Yeah.
And you will start seeing the changes, not only in your physique, but in your mental well-being as well.
But then how do you stay on that path? Because some people, they fall off the wagon, they miss the gym once, they have a burger once, and that's it, they're gone.
Yeah, but that's the worst thing people can do. There's no such thing, because I think the main problem for that is that people are always looking at these things on Instagram and YouTube, etc.
Yeah.
And it says, oh, you can get a six-pack in 6 weeks, or you can get this much muscle in 2 months, or whatever.
That's you posting it mostly, isn't it?
No. I never post that.
No?
That's not my thing. If you are going on a routine and you do something naughty, like you might go out, have a burger or have a cake or have some alcohol or whatever it is, just jump back on the wagon. Jump back on straight away. Don't just say, "Oh, I did something bad, so I'm ruined now." It doesn't work like that, because it's a lifestyle. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
You have to keep at it. And then if you I encourage people to keep like journals or logs.
Yeah.
And when you look back at your journal and you think, okay, you know what? I had a good run there. I trained pretty hard for 3 weeks, but I had a bad day there because I had a drink or whatever it could be. I had some junk food. But if you look at it in the whole context of things, it's not really that bad.
Yeah, it's not where you are, it's the direction that you're going.
Yeah.
So look, I want to get on to Syria in a political sense and a personal sense, having been there, and we're inside the last quarter of an hour, I'd say.
Oh wow! Okay.
And Mac, if you are watching, are still with us, and you want to get back in touch, now's the time to do so. Or if anyone else would like to come in, if you've got any questions for health guru Barbara Ali,
I wouldn't say I'm a health guru.
He is a health guru. He's a health Buddha.
No.
He's reached enlightenment.
Yeah, I
when
float.
it comes to health. Yeah, he can levitate. Then now's the time to do so. The number's on the screen, and put the international code in if you're calling from abroad or outside the EU or whatever. But we will talk about Syria. I want to ask Barbara, that we get the impression that Sweden is this hub of immigrants and refugees descending upon it. How many refugees are there in the part of Sweden that you're in?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, Sweden, I think it portrays itself as a country that's very open and welcoming and friendly and nice, which it is in some capacity. But I think that right-wing attitudes and politics is on the rise in Sweden.
As a backlash to that.
As a backlash, and I believe that nationalism is pretty much on the up. Okay. And in Sweden, I believe that there's a far right party. I mean, I'm not fluent in Swedish, but there's a far right party or right wing, center right wing party that actually has or is growing in huge numbers.
Right.
And that's where the country's headed. Also, when it comes to like immigration and stuff like that, we also have to talk about segregation as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Because just because a country is bringing in a lot of immigrants, it doesn't mean that they are integrating with society.
Okay.
They could be just be pushed into certain areas and towns, which is happening. And those towns become very run down, ghettoized, criminality is on the up, and you've got individuals who have probably been there for 10, 15, 20 years. They've never held down a proper job, etc., etc. So it's not as rosy as it might look.
Okay.
Yes.
Pause you there, Barbara. We go to a caller.
Yeah.
Who's this?
Hi, sorry, it's me again.
Welcome back, Mac. This is Mac, who we called earlier on. Well, that's Barbara just filling us in on life in Sweden and the refugees that went there, living in a ghettoized scenario. Did you want to go on Syria, Mac?
Yeah, before we go on to Syria, I wanted to ask Barbara a question.
Here we go. You're through to Barbara.
Yeah, basically, is alkaline water good water, better water than normal pH scale of 7? Because Dr. Steffi was always talking about drinking alkaline water.
Yes.
So that's a yes for alkaline water.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm okay drinking tap water as long as it's not too bad, you know what I mean? As long as I can get it down.
A lot of estrogen in tap water.
Yeah, so they say, but I think my testosterone levels are pretty good.
Okay, because there's amino acids in like meat, right? You know that, right?
Yes.
And so Dr. Sebi, anything that's acidic or anything even, that's why the Prophet used to say to eat meat once. That's like...
Yes.
It's a fact that that's not life, is it? So, yeah, the reason why is because
Mac, if you can you call us on WhatsApp? It might be a better line.
Okay, I'll leave it.
Yeah, we'll come back to him. He's talking about alkaline water. Is that something you're familiar with?
Me personally, I mean, I know of it, I've heard of it, but it's not something that
sold?
It's not. No, I don't know. It's not something that I really implement in my lifestyle.
Water. And he also mentioned the Prophet saying, "Don't eat meat too much."
Yeah, well, it's. I agree with him. The Prophet and even the Prophet's companions, they ate very little meat.
Hold on. Mac is making a mistake. Sorry, we interrupted. Mac, if you're trying to call, you need to call the number in the screen, not my number. The difference between what is permissible and what is encouraged, I think a lot of people mistake that in religion. Just because you were allowed to eat meat doesn't mean that you should eat it all the time, right?
I can speak. I'm Muslim and I can speak, and I believe that the Muslim community and Muslim society in a whole, they have serious problems when it comes to their love of food.
Okay.
I can even say that they are quite greedy.
Okay.
You know, and their attitudes need to change when it comes to food, because it's not something that, you know, if you look at the Muslim society, if you look at Arab society, for example, they're obese.
Yeah, well, I mean,
obesity is high there.
That's what comes with being a rich country.
Sorry.
So it's all right, Matt. I hope you got a better line. We tried on the WhatsApp, but it didn't work.
Yeah, is this better?
It's better. Yeah, go ahead. You're through to Barbara and myself.
So basically, what they said is germs thrive on acidic situation. Whereas if it was alkaline, I mean, the way you get rid of germs or bacteria is alkaline state. Now, what what Dr. Sebi is suggesting is if we drink anything around pH of 8 rather than 7, and anything closer or after 7 is not really good for you, because you're creating an environment in your system where infection or mucus, shall we say, because this is where he was the only one who was able to do to beat the American Medical Association, in court, and because he was claiming to cure all these symptoms, such as AIDS, such as diabetic, and all of these things, and then they took him to court saying, how can you advertise that you cure AIDS, diabetes, and all of these other things? And he goes, it's because it's dieting. What's important is if your body is in a state of alkaline, then these bacteria or mucus cannot survive. And he broke it down. He goes, everything breaks down to mucus. If you look at it, when you have a sinus issue, what is it? It's mucus in your sinus areas. When you have asthma, what is it? It's mucus in your lungs. And he kept breaking that. He goes, oh, what about AIDS? AIDS, again, that's mucus in your blood. So again, if you look at it, every disease, it comes down to one thing, and that's he actually elaborates really well on it, Dr. Sebi. So this is why I was asking if alkaline, if you know about any research about the alkaline water or not, in terms of being good for your health. So that's why drinking water is good, yes, but it's more closer to the alkaline state, because bacteria doesn't actually thrive in it. It doesn't survive. And this is normal scientific knowledge. This is common knowledge.
Is this mainstream science, Mac?
Yeah, this is mainstream science. I mean, it's weird that everyone dismisses the person who actually, first person to create to realize alkaline is a good cleanser, but obviously we can't connect the dots to realize, wait a minute, if it's good for us, then why are we drinking alkaline water? Or this is why some people, they make the tea is a very good thing, because tea makes it at the alkaline state it should be. That's why it's healthier to drink, because water on its own is not. That's why if you mix it in with the right kind of tea, or should we say the leaves that make alkaline, then you have a better drink, and it helps improve your body and your state as well.
What kind of tea? What kind of tea are we talking about?
Dr. Sebi mentions a few things, but
What do you recommend? Mint tea? I've heard mint tea has a soy effect.
PG tips, are they any good?
You're not mentioning the soya thing. Soya is good for men, especially. But in terms of health, what I've read about alkaline water, this is why I was asking. I wanted to see if he had any information about alkaline water, but other than that, back to Syria.
Yeah, you want to go on Syria? Hit me with a few questions, Mac, and I'll try and address them before or after the line drops out.
I've been out in Syria around 2006, so I went to Damascus. I have an idea what it's like.
Okay, you were in Syria in 2006. How long was that?
Yeah.
13 years ago, Barbara says. Yeah. How was it back then?
So I want to know what it. I mean, I saw some parts of it was in heaps, but I can only imagine going now everywhere was just.
In 2006, did you fly direct to Damascus? Did you travel via?
Yeah, direct to Damascus. And I think I went to Next, and I had to take the bus to Damascus.
Where did you arrive? Which airport?
I think Damascus airport was.
Okay, you flew into Syria, is what I'm saying. You flew direct to Syria.
Yeah, and then because it was part of my pilgrimage, we went to the main mosque where they put Imam Hussein's head, and also Zainab's, and then we went to Mecca for our pilgrimage.
Okay.
So it was a few days kind of journey.
And may I ask, what passport did you travel on?
British.
As a British citizen, you flew direct to Syria, and you had a tourist visa, or do you get a special pilgrimage visa? What was the visa situation?
It was a pilgrimage Umrah visa.
An Umrah visa.
That was back in the day. That was back in the day when Iran wasn't such a big issue. But
okay.
Because right now Iranians can't even go to Saudi Arabia for a program. they're kind of on a ban list like America.
Is
Like
that
the
a
Americans.
fact?
Yeah.
Iranians cannot travel to Mecca for a pilgrimage,
Well,
or they would find it difficult.
They consider it the same way that you would go to US. They want to ensure that you're not Shia. If you're a Shia, then you're not. You basically, they don't see you as a Muslim, and you're not entitled to a visa.
But as far as I know, there has never been any ban on Shias attending the Hajj. No one has ever made such a fatwa.
But that's because no one is out there that much saying, "Oh, I'm a Shia, I'm a Shia."
No one from the ulama in Saudi Arabia has ever made that fatwa declaring Shia non-believers. I don't think.
No, but
They might treat them like it. They might treat them worse. And
No. In the actual mosque, you don't know how we. Bro, if I tell you my, we're gonna go off course, but next time I got to tell you my experience. The way they treat. As soon as they realize I got a British passport, they let you go. Otherwise, if they thought that I had Iranian or an Iraqi passport, they were gonna take you to beat me up.
they've beaten him up. Bad news, guys. The battery has failed us, and that's unfortunate. Maybe that's the Saudis intervening. Bob, what do you make of what Mac's saying about how he would be treated on Umrah or Hajj?
Well, I haven't been on Umrah or Hajj myself, so I haven't got any first-hand experience of going there. But you know, in from the little I know, in Saudi Arabia, you get people from all walks, all different sects and groups and I don't know ideologies that they go there. So it's like what he said. If it's, I mean, I know tensions are high against between Saudis and Iranians. So I suppose it's. I mean, the Saudis hold the card, right? I mean, it's their country. So if they're not getting along with the Iranians at the moment, then they're gonna obviously not let them in for security reasons. Even it could be.
I'm sure Mac is probably right in what he's saying. I've got a slight insight into the situation in Bahrain, having friends who live there, and Bahrain is a majority Shia country with a Sunni prime minister and government installed there by the British and therefore loyal to neighbouring Saudi Arabia. So yet again, the usual post-colonial scenario with a minority ruling over a majority. And this friend said that it can be very difficult for family friends who are Iraqi, who would be identifiable as Shia from names and surnames, etc., to come and visit. And sometimes the government of Bahrain will not give a visa to anyone who seems to be of an Iraqi Shia or an Iranian background. If that's what Bahrain are doing, who are a small fish in that pond, imagine what Saudi Arabia, backed by the world's only superpower, are doing. Who follow, we know the ideology they follow. Yet again, it's a minority sect that dominates a certain country, and it's one family rule, just like many of the other countries in that region. And we had the Arab Spring, but because it's a family that we in the West like, they are doing very well, and they are modernizing themselves and portraying themselves as, we let women drive now, aren't we great? But they're still killing women and children and men in Yemen indiscriminately. And that has all, I think the point has always been missed in Saudi Arabia. And Anthony Joshua, we haven't even spoken about Anthony Joshua yet, but it's significant that world heavyweight title was in Saudi Arabia. And there is a risk of glossing over the human rights abuses and the war crimes. And I think the war crimes are more important. Every country has to sort itself out one day and treat all its citizens equally. But when you are waging war on another country, we have international law for a reason. We have the Geneva Convention for a reason, and these countries should be held to account. Certain countries are punished for doing the right thing, and other countries are rewarded even when they continually do the wrong thing. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, Barbara. It's
yeah, I mean, it's just a struggle of powers all the time, isn't it? I mean, and I guess these are the things that are going to lead to World War III. It's just a struggle of power.
Well,
wherever you go, everything's a struggle of power. So, I don't really know too much about the stuff, and I don't really want to comment too much on it because it's quite complicated, and we don't know the ins and outs of everything. So,
well, I'll just mouth off then and make myself the target bullseye. Yeah, we don't know everything, as you say, and who was it said that World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons and World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
yeah.
Think about
Speaking
it.
of that, though, when people do tell me that, the world is developing and it's moving forward and it's got to be moving, I believe, it is, but it would only be for a certain percentage or certain community or certain people that will be privileged. But I believe the rest of the world will be, like you said, sticks and stones.
Yes. White privilege and all that.
Yeah, white privilege.
You're a white
Again.
male. How dare you? Well, I want to address Syria. Unfortunately, we've lost Mac because he drained our batteries, so to speak. Long story short, and I don't want to go into it. I mean, you can watch the vlogs, and I might be doing another chat with our friend George. George, friend of the show, soon. But long story short, I had a great time in Syria. That is a place where Christians and Muslims live, the area that I was in, are living side by side. They're wishing each other Merry Christmas, regardless of religion. And I think you can be religious and not spiritual at all, or you can live in a secular society where religion is kind of in the background and in people's hearts, which is where I think it should be, yet spirituality is alive and well. And spirituality are all the things that we can't touch and name and put our finger on.
Being a nice person.
Being a nice person, being in love, being a good Samaritan, as it says in the Bible, being a good neighbour. Everybody loves good neighbours. This is what spirituality is. And that is what is missing in theocracies like Saudi Arabia, where they're trying to shove it down people's throats and prevent Christians from building churches or worshipping freely. Whereas in Syria, where you can have a mosque, you can have a church, you can be what you want to be. You can be a Sunni, you can be I'm not saying that it's perfect. By the way, nowhere is perfect. But I'm talking about how the people live, not what the government does, how the people live and how they treat each other. I saw that cohesiveness, and I think that's because religion's not being forced on people. If you don't force it on people, people are always going to be religious. People are always going to find spirituality, and you can let it come through. And I went to the mosque where John the Baptist's head is buried, at the Umayyad Mosque, which was a church before, and before that it was a temple to Jupiter, the Roman god. So people have always found spirituality, and the fact that it was a church that became a mosque, I kind of thought, well, maybe it's not good to turn a church into a mosque. But for 40 years, it functioned as both a church and a mosque. The Christians and Muslims shared it together until the Muslims bought the rest of it off the Christians, and the Christians then bought their own new building. It wasn't a case of we've conquered you and which is against what the Quran says. The Quran says respect the buildings.
They reached a compromise.
Yeah, they reached a compromise, and it was by consent. And apparently, when the Muslims came to Syria, they didn't become the majority religion for something like 500 years. It wasn't a case of, well, that's it, we conquered you, Islam now you're Muslim. Gradually, people intermarried and people shared ideas, and now the majority of people are Muslim. But there's still one of the highest percentages of Christians in the Arab world. There's still a mix of there's Sunni, there's Shia, there's Alawi, there's Druze. Are they Muslim or not? We don't know. They're another little section, a community. And I think the reason being why Syria, the regime, has clung on to power, as we call it, is because it is so diverse, and the rebels, whether they're the moderate rebels or the hardline rebels, have become too Islamicized or perceived as such, that all these little minorities, whether it's Shia or Orthodox Christian or Catholic or whoever, are scared of the lions voting to eat the sheep. And I hope Syria continues to be the pluralistic society that I saw. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying any government is perfect. I'm just saying I was impressed by the way the people of different and I'm a very curious guy. I will look for signs, whether it's someone wearing a cross or a taxi driver with the little Druze symbol on his rear view mirror. People will proudly show what they are without, and you don't have to ask, but it's unwritten and it's accepted. And T. McIntyre saying, I'm yet to meet a Syrian who didn't like Assad. Well, look, I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm just telling you what I saw. But Barber,
I'll give you something to think about.
Go on then. Food for thought for Barber.
There is no compulsion in religion, but you should not compromise your religion either.
Compromise. Okay. No compulsion, but don't compromise. Food for thought.
Food for thought.
And drink. You've got to stay hydrated.
You know, and you know, let's not comment on it. Let's just think about that.
There's no compulsion in religion, but don't compromise your religion.
Yes.
That's Barber's quote for 2019. As we wrap up the year, as we wrap up the decade, and we wrap up the show. Barber, when are we going to do this again? It's been a year.
Have we got another 15 minutes now?
Do you want to do?
We can do some. We can talk some sport. We can do a bit something a bit more lighter.
Because
you always want to go into these hard Syria and war.
Yeah,
and
because that's reality. How we do? What is the time? Give me a time check.
15 minutes.
Yeah, if I can be out the door in 15, we can do it. Providing we survive. We just had another warning message come up. All right, what other topics do you want to go into then outside? Geopolitics.
Who do you have here? Okay, I mean, let's talk. What should we talk about? Let's not talk about main politics.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about sport or something.
Okay. Yeah. All right. For the last 15, for the final round, we'll go sport and we'll go in boxing. I can see Barber's going to pull down this whole video, edit it, and start it from now to put on his channel. But we'll go in sport and we'll go in boxing in the heavyweight division.
Past or present?
Well, you brought it up, Barber. You tell me. What's your dream match for 2020?
For 2020...
The Mystic Mac has already predicted it.
It's not going to happen, but I would like to see unification bout. Let's see how Wilder and Fury gets on, and then the winner of that should fight Joshua, and then hopefully we get a champion. But I believe that Wilder would beat all of them.
Really?
Yes. Even
though Fury gave him a hard time the first time round?
Yes, I believe that. I believe that now. I you know what it is? Even if it's a close match, like if I can't pick a heavyweight between the two, I'll always go with Wilder because I just believe that he's just totally destructive. And, you know, they talk about special heavyweights, right? That only come around once in a generation or once in a lifetime. I believe, as crazy as it might sound, and a lot of people say that he doesn't know how to fight or box, I believe Wilder's that guy. Till this day.
Well, how many top 10 contenders has he beaten?
All right. Okay. But let's look at another side of it. He's in the top 10 of the most heavyweight championship defenses in history. He's on 9 at the moment. So is boxing really that crap now? That a guy who cannot box has defended his title 9 times?
And fair play, look, a knockout is a knockout. It's hard to knock out a heavyweight boxer.
It's difficult.
And he's knocked almost all of them out.
All of them.
Apart from Fury.
Apart from Fury.
And Team McIntyre is asking if you can call in. Unfortunately, the lines are now closed. Don't call in. You may still be charged.
But let me say something in terms of that Fury fight now.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy that they even let that fight continue. Because if you think about it, the way he got knocked down, if it was anyone else, and I'm not going to try play the race card now or nothing like that, yeah? But if it was anyone else, they would have stopped that fight. I don't believe they would have let it continue. The way he fell, the referee would have just waved it off.
Well, doesn't this show the referee was right? Because he got up and danced around and boxed his head off for the rest of the round.
I think it's crazy because, Wilder, let's look at it this way. Boxing is a very political sport as well.
Yeah.
To get a British guy coming over to America, fighting a black American guy, and then sort of like giving the British guy a chance. You understand?
The judges didn't sing. It's lucky the referee did, because the judges certainly didn't. The judges saw it the other way.
So in that,
including a British judge. It was a British judge that gave Wilder the nod.
But in regards to that, that's why I call it 50-50, because they let the fight continue, which I believe they shouldn't have. Yeah, and then the judges messed it up. Let's say.
Yes, there is an argument to be made that Fury was lucky to be allowed to continue, but I think McIntyre saying Fury actually did make the count. Yeah, he did make the count, and the count should be, it's not 10 seconds, it's a count of 10. Some referees do call it off before
I'm not disputing the count. What I'm disputing is that they let it continue. The way he fell, the way he fell, it's like, they gave a child, and he's in America. If that happened to Wilder in Britain, I'm pretty sure they would have waved it off.
Some referees would have waved it off.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis, when he went down against Hasim Rahman, was waved off quite quickly.
Yeah.
Also, Lennox Lewis against Oliver McCall, similarly.
Yeah, but when he got up, he was out of it.
Okay, but it's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah, but anyway, they're going to run it through again in February. So I would like to see the winner of that fight, Joshua, and basically get all the belts in one place.
But the WBO belt might go up in the air again because they have a different mandatory challenger to the rest of them.
Once these three guys fight, Wilder, Fury, and Joshua, once these three guys fight each other, belts will just be belts. Because what we want to know is who is actually the best.
And is that more important than the belt?
Right now, yes, because you got Joshua, who's got the belts, but he's not really rated as the best. He's rated as the number 3, I would say. I don't know if there's any other heavyweights coming up right now, but I think the argument is between them 3 right now, isn't it? But there are other guys coming up as well. So let's see how to settle it between these 3.
Yeah, well, Dillian White is back from his ban, and that's decision's been.
I believe Dillian White is very well improved, but I don't believe he is on their level.
No. What about? Have you seen Kalnicki, a Polish American? It's up and coming. Another guy that doesn't look the part, but knocks them out. And you've got Pulev hanging around in there. You've got
yeah. But I think the top 3 are those guys. Wilder,
what about Parker?
No.
He's still young, Parker.
He's very young, but he really let himself down when he fought Dillian White last time. He didn't throw any punches, and even when he fought Joshua, he didn't throw any punches. So he's not a sort of guy that's got that dog in him.
Okay, yeah.
He hasn't got that dog in him.
Dillian
White has it, but I don't think he has the ability to beat those guys. Yeah.
Interesting. And what about any fights to watch coming up in the lower weight divisions?
I'm just happy that all the attention is going back to heavyweights.
Okay.
I think that when you speak of boxing, like if you're a casual fan or a hardcore fan, like the attention should be to the big guys.
That's the glamorous
division. And it should be. I mean, and if the heavyweight division is thriving, that means the sport is thriving.
Povetkin, McIntyre's mentioning Povetkin. He's still hanging around. He's getting
old. He's long in the tooth now.
He's long in the tooth. Yeah. You've also got the Cuban heavyweight that Wilder knocked out.
Yeah, but he's long in the tooth as well.
Yeah.
He's had his sort of chance. I mean, I can't see him beating the other guys now.
So we've whittled it down to 3.
Yeah.
Any other sporting news, Baba, you'd like to wrap up? any sporting competitions for you? Will there be a strength challenge 2020? That's what everyone wants to know.
No. I mean, doing that.
My second place in 2015 it's got pride of place.
Doing those little grassroots level competitions was fun. It was a nice experience, but no.
Well, what about sporting achievements in Sweden? You've got your training.
Yeah. Actually, I am. I run a little boxing club in Sweden. It's developing, and I'm actually quite proud of it because I'm getting individuals who are starting off from scratch, and I'm actually showing them how to box, and they're getting really good.
Well, as a coach, I knew you used to say if you're starting from scratch, you've got no bad habits.
Yeah, that's it.
A lot of people learn to box against the bag or watching Mayweather and try and be Mayweather, but only he can pull it off.
Yeah,
So, that's great. You've got some up-and-coming Swedish contenders.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been back in the ring this year.
Yeah, how was it?
Well, it was up and down.
Was it boxing or was
it was K1 and MMA, both amateur.
Well, you bought two this year.
I've done several competitions in both. I went to Germany.
Well, how many times did you compete this year then?
I've been to about 4 competitions, and each time I've had about 2 or 3 fights.
So in total, you must have like 12 fights then?
Yeah.
Really?
I even competed for Great Britain against France in Germany. Didn't do very well.
Representing Boris Johnson.
Yeah, representing Boris and Brexit.
Okay, let's not talk about. But I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah. I wanted to
because
go back
it's like you got a lot of people who are gym rats, etc. But you don't really know how good you are until you really test yourself.
I think you can have the best technique, but maybe you can't do it under pressure.
But the thing is, in competition, there's so many variables.
Yeah.
You can get individuals who are very good in the gym.
Yeah.
But performing under pressure with people watching,
it's a different ballgame.
It's completely different. I mean, and you can get the guys who are amazing looking in the gym, and then they'll just fall apart on the night. And it's not even a night; it's just a few rounds.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
And then you think, what happened? But it's just all those variables.
And and you could spend months training for it, hours waiting for it on the day, and then it's over in minutes. But it's a good challenge. I might go again this year. I don't know.
Strictly K1 or MMA?
Strictly K1, and I think
no boxing.
Nah.